So we're going to run through a tutorial. People have brought up tutorials to me in the past, and I'm not really too big into making videos. Obviously, I'm just not a video guy. But this rifle's gotten a lot of attention. My CQB's gotten a lot of attention with the stripes. My MCX has gotten a lot of attention. People have asked about tutorials, and as much as I'm not into them, I hate going through the comments and constantly having to type out my process, so I figured I'd just make a video that I can link people to. So this is going to be a very rough tutorial on how I kind of did this paint job. This paint job is courtesy of Nathan Chappell. He did it on one of his quad guns, and I love the look. I thought it looked like a gun that you found at the bottom of a ship that had been laying along for a long time. It's got this kind of like oxidized copper kind of look. So I'm going to kind of give us a rundown on how this goes. Sorry for the cut in the video. I might do that periodically because I live on a busy street and we had a semi-truck going by. It was kind of loud. It can detract. It can be very distracting, especially when I'm just filming off of a phone. So that happens. Anyway, we're going to go over some of the materials that I use for these kind of projects, and then I'm kind of going to break it down on how I do it using a buddy's gun. Very basic. It's not even that complicated of a job. Like I said, I got this from Nathan Chappell. You can always hit him up if you have any questions. You can hit me up if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help out. But what we've got for paint is we've got some camouflage from Rustoleum. This is Army Green. We've got Krylon Fusion Matte Spanish Moss. And we've got Rustoleum Satin Warm Caramel. Now, these two colors I'm going to come back to here in a second. I'll explain why. We also have Rustoleum Khaki. And we have Rustoleum Flat Protective Enamel Brown. And we have a Rustoleum Matte Clear Coat. Now this is important because these two colors, you can always expect satin to come off with kind of a sheen to it, almost like a gloss. This kind of surprised me because it claims it's matte, but it comes off with kind of a gloss, and hitting it a couple of times with the matte clear coat really helps to kind of break that up after it goes through its whole drying process. Now, the other thing is sponges. This is a basic car wash sponge. I'm probably going to end up ripping this up maybe 2 more times for a total of 3 pieces, give or take. And that's so that you can make these kind of little patterns here. And I'll walk you through that whole bit when we do this. But the other thing that I use is I use gloves. Now, that's entirely user preference. I like gloves because I'm a bit of an autist, and I don't like sticky on my hands. It's frustrating, but that's entirely up to you. So we're going to cut here. We're going to move to my buddy's rifle, and then we'll get going. Something else to mention before we get this going is lighten up. It's just paint. It's not that serious. If you fuck it up, you can always hit it with acetone or citrus strip, and you can start over. I've done this with my MCX. I've done this with multiple guns. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. A lot of the times, people won't notice the mistakes. A lot of the times, you won't notice the mistakes after you start using and abusing your guns. It's not that complicated. It's not that big a deal. Something I forgot to mention is tape. I like to use frog tape. It seems to hold the best for things like lens caps and rings and whatnot. But if I'm doing complicated stencils, like what I did with my winter MCX, I like to use blue tape because it's not as sticky. So when you have multiple layers of paint, you run less risk of peeling your paint with your tape. So something to be mindful of is tape. Now, what we're going to do here first is we're going to use matte Spanish moss, and we're going to use brown. So when I'm using the base colors, like I said, matte Spanish moss, the brown, I like doing them in basically stripes. Now, you can go stripes this way. I think that looks weird, so I typically do top right to bottom left, but it's not that bad. Lay down your coats. You could even kind of hit the whole rifle, as far as like, if you wanted to just do the whole thing green and then put brown over the top of it, you absolutely can. Like I said a minute ago, mostly just have fun with it, try new things, experiment a little. That's how you learn what works and learn what doesn't. And ultimately, that's how you get good at this. As our friend Bob Ross says, there's no such thing as mistakes, only happy accidents. Okay, I'm gonna cut and add the brown and I'll get back to you. So we just got done laying down our patterns and we're dry enough that we can kind of start moving on to some of the sponging. Now, something to be mindful with the sponging is in order to try and get less of those lines from the sponge, you can see that this was one of those car wash sponges. And what I did was I went to what would have been one of the flat sides, which is here, would have been one of the flat sides, and there was hard edges on this, so I kind of just picked until those hard edges were gone. And you can do that even in the middle. You can do that all around so that you have some dips and divots. And the reason being is what we're going to do is really, really simple. You're going to spray until you've got a nice little puddle. And then all you're going to do is you're going to take your sponge and you're going to dip it. And then usually what I do is I kind of hit over here so that you get rid of some of that excess, because that first one is really, really like not what we're going for. That's about more what we're going for. Hit it a third time, maybe even a fourth. That is perfect. And then you're just going to start kind of laying it all over the place. And if at any point during this process you're thinking to yourself like, oh my God, I'm ruining my gun. Guess what? You are. That's okay. You don't want a fucking safe queen. Nobody does. Those guys are garbage. Unless they're really nice, then you might get a pass. But this is basically all we're doing, man, is we're just kind of hitting all over the gun. You can kind of even hit in some of the green areas. Typically, I like to put the green splotches on the brown splotches on the green, but I usually do a little bit of both all around, just because it helps to kind of marry the colors together, so to speak. So that side's actually, that's what we're gonna do. And might go a little more there. Maybe even throw a little bit on the back. And yeah, now we'll move on to another color and we'll get going from there. Okay, so now we're gonna use Rustoleum Camo Khaki, and we're actually gonna mix that with the Rusto Brown. And the reason why we're doing both is the khaki comes off as a little bit too bright. So what I like to do is I like to take it and I like to actually mix the colors until I get something that's like brown, but like light brown. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of mix this all up together. And okay, so like that is not quite light enough. And what do we got here? Yeah, I feel like that is pretty good. So then we'll just kind of go around the edges and we'll start dabbing that on all over the place. It's okay to go over some of the spots you already went over. Like I said before, the whole point is to make this not natural, and that's okay. So with that, what we're going to do now is we are going to move to the caramel, and then we'll come back and we'll do some finishing touches. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Satin Warm Caramel. This right here, I think honestly is what really kind of brings this whole thing together. You can see little splotches of it, and when you get close you can kind of see how it's broken up. If Nathan, he could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, he said he was trying to actually imitate Flectarn when he was doing this. And yeah, this right here really helps to kind of tie it all up. So same principle, spray a puddle, grab a sponge, and kind of just give her the old tap, tap, tap. And yeah, so what you'll see is you'll see how every now and again you get kind of some hard lines. I guess like right here, you'll see how it's outlined. So then what I like to do is just kind of go back and touch around it to kind of break that up. And that's basically how we do this. It's really not that bad. Now, something I want to bring up is how these little areas in here that are hard to get to, if you take the time to kind of take care of those areas, in my opinion, That's what really separates a good paint job from a meh paint job, is showing that you got into those little details and took care of them. This color dries really fast, so we're just gonna hit it a little more, get rid of our excess, kind of throw some more splotches in there, some random places, get rid of those hard lines. And that's basically it, ladies and gents. It's really not that hard of a paint job, but once it's done, it looks, in my opinion, really, really good. We'll go back and we'll grab some more of that green and some more of that tan color, and we'll kind of just touch up some of the areas that are maybe a little dull. Like right in here, I don't like that hard line, so I'll probably throw some greens and some browns in there just to kind of marry this edge, because this edge it draws the eye, and the whole point of camo is to not draw the eye. Now, am I always doing practical camo? No, I'm not. I mean, we've all seen some of my stripes, not practical really at all, but they're fun. So yeah, ultimately it's kind of depends on heavily what you have in mind, what your goals are, what you want to do. And like I said at the beginning of the video, just have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's your gun, and it's a good time. Okay, so this has not got the matte clear coat yet, but this is going to be where I am ending this video. I think you can kind of see exactly how this paint job works, and I hope it helps out.